Moment of truth. All right. What you got for me? Are we going live? YouTube? Huh? What you got? Looks like we're here, but I need to see it or it's not real. You know me. I need to see it. I need to see me. YouTube, what's up? We're here. Rockfin, are we here? Rockfin, we're here. How about those apples? How about those apples? We've done it. Speaking of which, apples, I feel like they're kind of out of season. At least they are where I am in California. What's up, everybody? Good afternoon to all my East Coasters. This afternoon. Hope you had a wonderful lunch. Good morning. And to all my West Coasters, morning time zone, how's your coffee? We're a few minutes early. It happens. And good evening to everyone in an evening time zone and to everyone in the future, Australia, New Zealand. You're a day ahead. Can you figure out climate change? Counting on you. We need you. Please. Shout out to everyone who makes this show possible. Our friends over at ZT.com, ZHITEA.com. Their tea kind of rules, and you can get it wholesale now, especially because of the pandemic. Keep your fingers across for a Ron tea. We're working on it, but in the meantime, show them some love. ZT.com, ZHITEA.com. Our friends over at triageoil.com, TRIAGE oil.com. Trendy name makes topical pain oil for your body. It works wonders. I use it regularly, and it's fantastic. And our friends over at Indie Left. Indie Left is the only place to find all the articles and content from all the streamers and writers you know and love. They update the platform twice a day. They curate a list of all the progressive news going on. I'm there, along with all the other content creators you know and love, to learn more about everything they got going on and to subscribe to their Discord community. They're dancing over at the Discord. Check them out at independentleft.media. That is, let me make sure I got that right. Yes, independentleft.media. Independentleft.media. I had a little break last week. I'm double checking everything. I'm not sure of anything anymore. Because again, I'll just mention it real quick here. Last week, there was an internet issue in my neighborhood. They were doing some upgrades, and it affected us big time on Wednesday because that's when they were doing the actual upgrade. So there was no Get Your News On with Ron on Wednesday. And then on Tuesday, issues had already started. So that's fun. It was on Tuesday, we were having some significant connectivity issues. Anyway, so last week was weird. I apologize for that. And yeah, I'm glad we're just back to normal this week. And I don't say this enough, but I was using the restroom right before we started here, and I looked in the mirror, and I just want to apologize for my eyebrows. I'm sorry. My eyebrows have a mind of their own. They don't. They're very just in your face. They just go wherever they want. They have a sinister vibe about them. That's why I'm really glad I'm wearing glasses. So man, I think my eyebrows are Republican. I've thought about this. I'm pretty sure my eyebrows, they are Republican. And my cock is a socialist. It controls the means of production. My brain is, I think my brain's an anarchist. What type of anarchist, you ask? It depends on the day. Pre-coffee, post-coffee, different type. But I think that's where my brain's at. My eyebrows, though, they're definitely Republicans. I have two Republicans on my body. They are my eyebrows. My back is the working class. My back is the working class because it is the backbone. And it's always telling me, don't take me for granted, Society of Ron. Every time you don't lift with your knees with ease and you try to phone it in, you're taking me for granted. And then you hurt me and I don't like it. And then you hurt your neck and I don't like it because you got in a car accident about, what, has it been 8 years already? It's been a minute. But your neck's never been the same. You need us. The back and neck will unite and go on strike. And then what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And speaking of strikes, we're covering a strike today. This happened recently right near me. This was right here in Los Angeles. And so this happened this week. Check this out. Let me go ahead and show this to y'all. Here is the Justice for Port Drivers Twitter account. Look at these lines of trucks at the Port of LA at the ITS terminal, port strike in full effect. So there is a strike. The truck drivers went on strike. Here's the truck drivers lined up at the port there. And some of the, I believe some of the dock workers went on strike as well. That happened earlier this week in the Los Angeles area right near me. Now, the Teamsters did this along with the ILW union, which is a big union right here in my neighborhood in San Pedro. It's a huge union. Well, it goes beyond San Pedro, but there's a huge presence in, in my neighborhood. So this is from April 14th, happening now in a historic walk-off. Teamsters and ILWU Local 63 members just shut down one of the 7 major terminals at the Port of Los Angeles in solidarity with striking port truck drivers. Learn more about justice for port drivers at teamster.org. So they shut down one of the ports here in Los Angeles. Now, I'm not sure what is going to be happening next with this. I've been trying to get in touch with someone involved with the strikes. I was hoping to have someone involved with that strike on the show today. I was unable to find somebody who was able to come on the show. It's hard, especially over the weekend. A lot of times people, they kind of unplug over the weekend. They're not thinking about work or work-related things over the weekend, especially if they're organizing a strike and they just went on strike. They might have other things going on. So I was unable to acquire somebody. But here's something interesting, and we're going to keep an eye on this and see what all happens with this week as time continues. But I wanted to share this. So this is an article from NBC. There's a couple things I wanted to put. A terminal at Port of LA impacted by truck driver strike. Members of the International Longshore and Warehouse Union, that's the ILWU, joined the action by the Teamsters. So what they're saying here is that dock workers stopped servicing trucks owned by Universal Logistics Holding in solidarity with truck drivers who went on strike Monday, this is last week, against the company. So they were joined by, they're saying that some of the drivers were fired after voting to form a union. Philip Sanford of the Port of Los Angeles told City News Services that one of the port's 7 terminals had minimal to moderate traffic disruption by the workers who are not servicing the trucks that are being targeted by the Teamsters. Sanford could not quantify the cargo impact at the port, but said it was minimal. That same terminal also had about 20 to 30 picketing Teamster members at 12:40 p.m. on Wednesday, Sanford said. We are assisting the Teamsters with their right to picket and the First Amendment rights, and we respect that. And we're assisting them to do that while making sure to keep the port functioning. So why do I bring this up? I bring this up because this is very typical of the corporate media to try. Well, I bring this up first and foremost because there's a strike that's going on, and I like to cover strikes on this show. But isn't it interesting how the first statement they take with an article in the corporate media is they're downplaying the effects of the strike? Yeah, it didn't really inconvenience much. Big deal. Disruption was at a minimum, which obviously if disruption is a minimum for a strike, it's not going to be a very effective strike, is it? Now, are they telling the truth? Is that accurate? I can't say for sure because I wasn't there, but I can say this. Now, I think we've all been on a plane before, or you're familiar with flying to some extent. Whenever a runway is not available, just one runway, it throws everything off because, well, this runway is not available, so this plane's not going to take off on time, and this plane can't land where it's supposed to land, so it has to find another place to land. And then if you're part of the situation, you might be in a situation where you're just flying overhead for a while because you can't land. You got to wait to land. Or you can't take off for a while because you got to wait in line, and then it throws off another plane that's supposed to take off at a given time. You get the idea. So when just one runway is affected, it really throws everything off. So if one of 7 ports is shut down, I would assume it would do the same thing to an extent. I would assume that would cause a lot of disruption because now boats can't go into that port. So if they were supposed to go into that port, they got to find somewhere else to go. Well, other boats are scheduled to go into a given port. Keep in mind, this is the Port of Los Angeles and the Port of Long Beach. These are some of the busiest harbors in the world. At one point, the the busiest. The Port of LA was at one point the busiest. I don't know off the top of my head if it still is or isn't, but it's among the busiest in the world. That's all that's, that's all that matters. It is among the busiest in the world. It's not like this is some port that's hardly ever used, and if you shut down, one of the 7 ports, well, they'll just go somewhere else. No, this is the port of Los Angeles. So I find it hard to believe that there was minimal impact. I find that very hard to believe. And again, we're going to try to talk to some people involved. But, again, here, let's take a look at the picture again. So in the first paragraph, the NBC article said, "Oh yeah, it was no big deal. It was minimal. It was minimal impact." But take a look at this. I mean, look at that. Look at all those trucks. Look at all those trucks. And so this entire port is shut down. So there's 6 other ports they can go to, but one of the 7 just entirely shut down. And you're going to say it's minimal? You're going to say that's minimal. Now, maybe for whatever reason it was. I can't say 110% for sure that it wasn't. But I can say this. This is what the corporate media does to any type of movement or protest or strike. This is what they do, and this is what they have done for at least the past 40 plus years. At least, because, you can trace this back to the 60s and the anti-war Vietnam protests. So for at least 40 years, and if you trace it back to the 60s, 60 years, really. I think it's fair to say 60 years. What they do is they marginalize a movement and they trivialize it. That's the first thing they do. First 2 things they do to any type of social movement or any type of strike or any type of social disruption. They try to make it out like it's nothing. They try to make it out like, and you saw them do that during Occupy. Oh, it's just a bunch of goofy people in a drum circle. That's all it is. We're not going to actually talk to some of the people who are expressing ideas, some of the public intellectuals who spoke at Occupy, some of the people who have a very concrete list of demands and what this is all about. They're not going to film those people. They're going to film the person who's dressed up in a costume running around. That's what they're going to do. That's what they did. Because the first thing they want to do is trivialize a movement, marginalize it, make it out like it's nothing. Because they want to give you the idea that that's what any type of mass movement is. If you're part of any type of mass movement, any type of strike, any type of action, you're a radical, and you're just a goofball who just has this, you just want this utopia, and you're not realistic, and you're not even really bothering anything. The port's just fine. That's what the corporate media does to social movements. Because they know at the end of the day, a social movement, a strike, a protest, it disrupts the status quo. And you have a corporate media that thrives on the status quo. So it's no big surprise that A, this got very little coverage in general. This strike received very little coverage. And B, the coverage NBC did give to it, they make it out like it's not a big deal as soon as possible. Like, yeah, it's minimal disruption. They talk to one guy who has the interest of making it a minimal disruption, PR-wise, and he says it's a minimal disruption. And so we're going to keep an eye on this. We're going to hopefully get some folks who were involved to come on this show. Again, I apologize that I wasn't able to make that happen over the weekend, but, it was hard to get people to get back to you over the weekend. But it is still something I'm working on. And we're going to see if more happens with this. Again, this is right in my neighborhood, folks. This is a strike going on right in my neighborhood. So we'll keep an eye on it as it unfolds. Now, this is interesting. I want to go here next. The title of today's stream, and I don't know if I'm going to title the podcast the same thing, but it's Port Strikes, K-Hive, and Beto. Oh my. Play on the Wizard of Oz, if you will. And here is the K-Hive part. So this is an article from the Gray Zone that was written by video editor extraordinaire, Matt Orfalia. So check this out. K-Hive. Kamala's K-Hive trolls boosted by bots while media defends harassment campaigns. While the media defends K-Hive's disturbing attacks on critics of Kamala Harris, new findings reveal a Democratic Party-linked bot farm amplified its leaders. On April 8th, the LA Times profile of K-Hive attempted to put a positive spin on Kamala Harris superfans. So let's go to this real quick, because there was something here. He got this from the Wayback Machine. Now, this was an article from the LA Times. He probably just got it from the Wayback Machine, because otherwise LA Times tries to put a lot of their stuff over a paywall. And I love this part of the article. So this article is celebrating K-Hive for the most part. We don't need to go through the whole thing. But there was one sentence in particular. Check this part out. But they are not generally advocating for a set of policy briefs. They tend to promote pragmatic liberalism, taking cues from President Biden and Harris about how far Democrats can push legislation and executive action while constrained by a closely divided Congress. Their biggest unifying cause is their belief that they need to push back against Harris's critics. That is a very, very flowery diplomatic way of saying they don't really stand for any policies. They just stan, S-T-A-N, for Kamala Harris. That's it. I mean, that's what they're saying here. They're like, no, they're not really all about policy. They're not. It's not policy that they're all about. They're just about pragmatism, whatever that means. And they're about defending Kamala Harris, no matter what. They just like Kamala Harris, which guess what? You know, if you're going to like a politician, well, okay, go ahead and like a politician. That's your choice. But if you're going to stan, S-T-A-N, for a politician, and your entire identity is based around standing for a politician, you know how often you're wrong? 100% of the time. No matter who the politician is, you are wrong 100% of the time. 100% of the time, you're totally wrong. You should not stand for any politicians because they are politicians first. They are politicians first. And also, they're human beings. They're not some infallible, godlike beings who walk on water. They're politicians. At best, they have decent intentions. At best. And that's if you're lucky. Most of the time, they're just in it for themselves. Because our political system is something that is a system that rewards narcissism. It's a system that puts these people on a pedestal. It's a system that's not based upon public service at all. At all. And like I've said before, over the past 5 years, I have had more peaks under the political machine hood than I've ever wanted in a lifetime. And in my experience, it was worse than I ever could imagined it. It is the most petty, morally bankrupt, ethically disgusting structure I have ever seen. And this is coming from a guy in show business. On its worst day, show business is better than politics. On its worst day. Show business. And K-Hive. So let's get back to Matt's article, because there's a lot going on in this thing that is very interesting. Okay, so that's the LA Times portion. It turns out that Harris's modern political army was manufactured with the aid of an even larger army of fake Twitter accounts. After the term K-Hive was formally branded by folks like Joy Reid, K-Hive leaders received a boost from a Democratic Party operative-controlled bot farm. So here's the bot farm they're referring to. This links to an article from Huffington Post from 2018, how a Twitter fight over Bernie Sanders revealed a network of fake accounts. One Democratic Party consultant said an unnamed client controlled many of these accounts. When Russians at the Internet Research Agency interfered in U.S. politics, this is from the article, they created false online personas. So it's happening here. Trevor, a Sanders supporter, goes by liking online on Twitter, noticed a strange pattern of behavior when Albright responded to him. Her tweets addressing him were rapidly retweeted by a series of accounts. So, and by the way, this is nothing new. We knew this for a couple years. We knew this, especially when everybody was wetting themselves over, over a troll farm in Russia who made some memes in broken English, some of which were published after the 2016 election. When everybody was wetting themselves over that, what went under the radar? Well, the fact that Hillary Clinton had a literal troll farm. She had, correct the record, a literal troll farm. And I'm sure many of you remember having experience with that troll farm. I know I likely have. I remember at times when I used to, I used to be a guest on more centrist-oriented shows, and I would often, criticize Hillary Clinton on these shows. That's why I'm not, a guest on a lot of them anymore. I don't get asked back, whatever. But a lot of times I would get some feedback from supposed users, and this would happen on Facebook. Sometimes it would happen on Twitter, where I would see a comment from them, and it was in, I remember one time in particular on this Facebook post, this person, just a person, quote unquote, they had all these comments about me where they were like, Ron Placone should shut up. He is, and it was in broken English. Like, it basically looked like an algorithm arranged these sentences with a bunch of buzzwords where Hillary Clinton, sexist, Bernie bro, this, that, but it wasn't arranged in an actual cohesive thought. It was just these fragmented sentences. Like, and little articles wouldn't be in there. Like, they'd be like, Ron Placone is Bernie bro. Ron, shut up, should. Like, the sentence was composed like that, where you're looking at it, and I would look at it, and I would think, I don't know if this person's a real. And I would click their profile, and sure enough, their Facebook profile would have nothing on it at all. And it was made recently. You can see, like, member since. It was made within the past month a lot of the time. There's no information on their wall, nothing. And their profile picture is like a stock picture of a skyline or something like that. That was likely a correct the record troll farm member. That's likely what that was. So this is nothing new. What happened was they just moved over to K-Hive, to the quote unquote K-Hive. All right. So according to Vox, getting back to the article here, let me pull it back up for you guys. According to Vox, K-Hive credited De La Rosa with organizing K-Hive in a Facebook group that started in 2017. Bustle confirmed that many K-Hive accounts point to De La Rosa as the creator of K-Hives. Beyond its omission of this obviously salient fact, the Times failed to inform readers that Colbert, this is not Stephen Colbert, by the way, Rishi Colbert is who they're referring to, who's one of the more prominent members of the K-Hive. What they never mentioned was that Colbert, or Colbert, or however you say it, that Colbert and the Twitter account Black Woman Views were the same person. So these people have multiple accounts. The LA Times let K-Hive describe themselves as truth tellers when in fact they are notorious for spreading noxious lies about their political opponents. For instance, K-Hive spread a baseless lie that journalist Walker Bragman was literally caught running fake Black Twitter accounts. In reality, it was K-Hive members, according to the article, who were connected to a network of fake Twitter accounts. So here's again, this links to the article where they linked a bunch of K-Hive accounts to fake Twitter accounts. So going back here, in 2018, a forensically detailed investigation discovered a network of Twitter bots run by Democratic Party communications consultant Sally Albright. De La Rosa and her fellow K-Hive Readlinger, Wonder King, formerly known as Mr. Dane 1982, Mr. Weeks 1982, were among the Twitter accounts most promoted by the bots network. The bots most commonly retweeted negative or positive word was racist, artificially boosting tweets accusing Bernie Sanders supporters of racism. And now, so they actually have an admission here. Here is a Twitter account, Black Professor, part of the K-Hive. Here's something they actually tweeted. Damn right, I'm riding with my friend, real K-Hive Queen Bee. We were the original tag team duo taking on Bernie Sanders minions in 2015. We rode with Hillary Clinton until multiple of our accounts were suspended. They admit they have multiple accounts. I'm not riding with people who fail to credit the Queen for her creation. So they admit that they have multiple accounts. One of the LA Times K-Hive sources, Kenny Walden, tweets under Too Raw, Too Real, notorious for calling for the death of Bernie Sanders. Walden has been banned on Twitter at least 3 times before under various aliases for reasons such as managing multiple Twitter accounts for abusive purposes. So it's literally happening again. And are there some people on Twitter who just like Kamala Harris? Well, of course. And, we disagree on a lot, and that's fine. They're allowed on Twitter. But this is literally a troll farm. The same thing Hillary Clinton had. And I'm sure that a lot of us, especially people watching this show, have had an experience with it. I have had members of K-Hive send me emails before, and they're usually full of insults and expletives and threatening me and stuff like that, calling me all kinds of names, which hey, it could just be some person on the internet, whatever. And then I've been trolled on Instagram before by K-Hive fans, supposedly. And again, same story. I'd go to their profile. They'd leave a comment on Instagram. I'd go to their profile. They have this random blurry picture of themselves, and their account was made about a month ago. And they've posted nothing. They have posted absolutely nothing. So, and gee, I wonder when they really kicked in Kamala Harris's troll farm. Could it be when she announced her candidacy for president and she got ratioed? Do y'all remember that? Do you remember when Kamala Harris, it's Monday, folks. I got a case of the Mondays. I can't talk today. But do you remember when she announced her candidacy for the first time in 2020? Or I guess it might have been as far back as 2019. But for the 2020 election is what I mean. And she got ratioed. People were like, no thanks. Because keep in mind, she was the anointed one. She was the one the establishment wanted to shove down our throats. And they tried, and people said, no, thank you. Because people in her own state know what she's really all about. And people in California said, no, she didn't even show up in the running in her own home state. They tried to shove Kamala down our throats. We said no. So they tried Warren. We said no. So they tried Buttigieg. The people said no. So they tried Warren again. The people said no. So they said, well, you know what? Screw you. You're getting Biden. We're going to shove Biden down your throats. Deal with it. And that's what they did. And then Joe Biden went on to fall into the presidency. Donald Trump beat himself, and Joe Biden became president, which is a true testament to what our politics really are. The 2020 election, you can look at it as a snapshot with what American politics really is. Democrats would rather lose to Donald Trump and the Republicans again than win with the progressives. That's why they threw up the most beatable person, Joe Biden, a guy who probably can't tell you what he had for breakfast this morning, a guy who made every misstep on the campaign trail, but the Democratic establishment rallied when they needed to, and they were able to overcome Bernie's movement through a game where they set the rules for it, through shady apps, through having 20 against 1, having all these candidates meant to stifle Bernie. That's just what happened. And let's go over to the other side of the two-headed duopoly. The Republicans hate you so much, they had no problem losing the White House if it meant they didn't have to help you. Because guess what? If there would have been an emergency UBI throughout the pandemic, Donald Trump would still be president. He just would be. But that administration didn't do that, and they mishandled the pandemic every way imaginable. Completely mishandled it. The Trump administration was a circus during the pandemic. So Joe Biden, Joe Biden didn't win, quote unquote, as much as Donald Trump beat himself. Donald Trump beat Donald Trump in 2020. And the Republicans knew it was probably going to happen. I mean, I was saying stuff like that on this show. I was just like, look, the only way Biden wins, quote unquote, is if Donald Trump beats himself. That's the only way. And as time went on, I mean, at first, I didn't think there was any way in hell that could happen. And if it wasn't for the pandemic, there's no way it would have. I mean, I firmly, if it wasn't for the pandemic, Donald Trump would still be president. He would have mopped the floor with Joe Biden. But the pandemic made things very unprecedented. Most of the time, you can't beat something with nothing. You can't beat something terrible with nothing at all. Because people just take the chance on something terrible. That's how it's been in American politics for a while now. John Kerry couldn't beat Bush. Why? Because John Kerry really didn't offer anything. So people just stuck with Bush despite how terrible he was. And Bush slithered his way into the presidency despite not winning for real the first time. But the pandemic changed all that. But Republicans, they saw that coming and they were like, we'd rather just lose. Isn't that incredible to you? They'd rather lose the White House than give you an emergency UBI during a pandemic. That thing that a bunch of other countries just did, no questions asked. They were fine with losing the White House because they hate you that much. And they're in bed with Wall Street that much. And the Democrats, same thing. They're fine. They were fine with losing to Trump again. Despite the circus that was the Trump administration during this pandemic, Democrats didn't care. What was more important to them was knocking out any chances of having someone progressive in the White House. That was their main priority. They even admit, I mean, you could find MSNBC footage. They literally say that. They say that beating Bernie is more important than beating Trump. And that's what the Democratic Party is. Let's make our donors happy by keeping progressives out of power. If we can beat a Republican in the meantime, great. If not, the gravy train keeps rolling. And the Republicans, yeah, we want the gravy train to keep rolling too. And we'll gladly lose an election if to win an election, we actually have to help people. If it comes down to actually governing or losing, we'll lose. Democrats, if it comes down to having a progressive or losing, we'll gladly lose. And that's the duopoly, folks. And that's why they need each other. They need each other. Democrats are only able to be as ineffective as they are because of how gruesome Republicans are, and Republicans are only able to be how gruesome they are because of how ineffective Democrats are. That's bipartisanship, baby. That shit you're supposed to celebrate, that's really what it is. And so, great, good thing we have these troll farms, too, to uphold this status quo. It's a great status quo. It's working out great. Good thing we have troll farms to help out. All right. So I thought that was it. Now, so this is a fun one. Y'all know that I am no fan of Beto O'Rourke. He's one of many politicians I'm not a fan of. But I'm no fan of Beto O'Rourke. And here is something that happened last night that I just kind of got a kick out of, and I wanted to share. This is kind of a fun one. So check this out. Matthew McConaughey, this is from the Dallas Morning News out in Texas. Matthew McConaughey, all right, may be a viable candidate for Texas governor. The poll shows him ahead of Abbott. So Matthew McConaughey commands more support to be Texas' next governor than incumbent Greg Abbott, according to a poll released Sunday by the Dallas Morning News. However, the film actor and political newcomer could hit potholes in either major party's primaries. For months, McConaughey has teased political pundits and TV talk show hosts with musings he might enter politics in his home state. Now, if he were to do that, the poll found 45% of Texas registered voters would vote for him, 33% Abbott, 22% for someone else. When Democrats broke 66-8 for McConaughey and independents 44-28, more than twice as many Democratic primary voters, 51%, said they wanted whoa, listen to that. In Texas, more than twice as many Democratic primary voters, 51%, said they wanted a progressive candidate for governor, then wanted a centrist. So the base, the Democratic base, this isn't the establishment, mind you, the Democratic base, even in Texas, want a progressive more than a centrist. Texas also has more DSA chapters sprouting up than anywhere else. Now, I know part of that is just because the state's so freaking huge, but what it's saying is people want a more progressive direction for this party, and they're still not doing it. They're not doing it. Why? Because the base doesn't get a say. The establishment does. We know this. But so the reason I bring this up is because after that hit the hit the blogosphere, basically, Twitter sphere, whatever you want to call it, Beto O'Rourke was trending. And Beto O'Rourke was trending because a bunch of people were calling for Beto to run for governor instead. So here's Beto trending. I'll support Beto. Here's just some of the tweets. I'll support Beto O'Rourke in a bid for governor over Matthew McConaughey any day. Beto is a former representative who knows what Texas needs. McConaughey is unqualified. If Matthew McConaughey loves Texas, he would support and work to get Beto O'Rourke elected as the next governor. Here's my tweet. And this just randomly came after a searching for Beto trending search. Here's my tweet. And this is why I wanted to bring this up. Both of them are moderates. Matthew McConaughey and Beto O'Rourke. Both are quote-unquote moderates, and I put moderates in quotes because in reality, they're all right-wingers. Because if you're moderate by United States standards, you're far right anywhere else. So they're both right-wingers. Both are vaguely interested in politics. You think Beto O'Rourke has any firm policy positions? The only firm thing Beto cares about is a table for him to stand on. He's a performance artist. Both are really into attention. I think that's fair. Matthew McConaughey, Beto O'Rourke, both really into attention. So what I say in this tweet and what I say now, I'm not really sure the difference between Matthew McConaughey and Beto O'Rourke, other than Matthew McConaughey succeeded in an industry that Beto failed at, which is true. Beto wanted to be in show business to some extent. He wanted to be a musician. He failed at that. So why I wanted to bring this up, people love to throw those things out there like, we don't need some actor in politics. Where actors should stick to acting. Now, in principle, I actually do agree with that. I think, you know what? I don't like making a show business out of politics. Politics should be about public service. It should be about policy. It should be about lawmaking. But again, our system ain't about that. Our system ain't about that. So in principle, do I agree with that sentiment? Yeah. But in practice, the United States has no standards anyway. How would Matthew McConaughey be any better or worse than Beto O'Rourke? I don't think he would. And I'm not saying that to promote Matthew McConaughey. I'm saying that to say, look at how shitty our system is, where you guys are duped into celebrating someone like a Beto O'Rourke, when really he's not offering anything different than Matthew McConaughey. He's offering nothing different. Beto wanted to be a musician. He failed at it. And by the way, he played with some of the guys in At the Drive-In, top-notch musicians. He still failed at it. Matthew McConaughey just happened to succeed in acting. Yeah, and, you know, he's done some funny stuff, whatever. And I'm sure politically, I disagree with both of them. Politically, I'm not aligned with either of them. The base in Texas wants a progressive. They ain't offering that. Neither of them are offering that. You say, oh, Matthew McConaughey, he's a novice to politics. Beto O'Rourke has more experience. Experience doing what? What big oil tells him to? Yeah, he has experience with that. Experience with billionaires? Yeah, he has experience with that. Experience with donors? Yeah, he has experience there. How is he any better than a political novice? Again, he isn't. So Matthew McConaughey or Beto O'Rourke, what's the difference? Tell me what the difference is. Beto has experience. Yeah, experience doing what? Actors should just stick to acting. What? So he succeeded at something. Beto failed at it. That makes him worse somehow? How does that make him better or worse? He just succeeded in show business. Beto couldn't. Beto couldn't succeed in politics either, by the way. He really couldn't. He had a billionaire bump because he married into billions. And that's just who he is. So I just thought that was peculiar. And again, it's really a snapshot that shows what our politics are all about. Oh, don't make it a sideshow. It's already a sideshow. It is already just a corporate coup banana republic sideshow. That's what our system is. That's what Beto O'Rourke is. That's just what he is. And you're supposed to entertain some notion that he's any better or worse than some right-wing actor? In many ways, he himself is a right-wing actor. Beto O'Rourke. And if Beto ran for governor of Texas, Beto would probably lose. And Matthew McConaughey might lose too. I don't know. But, man, hopefully Texas, you get an actual progressive option. That'd be great. A real progressive running in Texas. Somebody running for the right reasons too. Imagine that. But when you have this celebrity deity worship of politicians where they're never held accountable for anything, they're not expected to do anything. You can just talk nice and tweet nice and you're worshipped. And you have a ticket to Easy Street if you just do what your donors tell you. You can become 100 millionaire. Oh, and by the way, if people who are actual progressive challengers, the Democratic establishment spends $50 million making sure you don't get anywhere. And if they need to spend another $50 million, guess what? They will. They will. So, yeah, I love the idea of not making a sideshow out of our politics. Let me know when it's not a sideshow in the first place. And it's sad. We live in an era where Beto O'Rourke is no better than any given Hollywood actor. And hey, if Matthew McConaughey had better politics, I'd say Matthew McConaughey's a way better option. If Matthew McConaughey wasn't a quote unquote wasn't a quote unquote moderate and was actually a lefty, I'd say, hell, I'm rooting for Matthew McConaughey. He's at least a lefty. He's an actor. So what? Beto wishes he was an actor. Beto's an actor just in a different way. He's a shitty actor. So he had to settle to be a politician with billions behind him. Chuck Todd, shitty actor. He's not even doing a convincing job playing a news anchor. He's failing at that. So you want a world where you don't have actors jumping in the political realm? Well, guess what? The system needs to frickin' change. Reagan was an actor. Somebody brought that up. So, yeah, you're trying to take some moral high ground by saying Beto O'Rourke is some better choice than Matthew McConaughey. I wish we lived in that society. I wish we lived in a society where we could say any given politician would be better than someone in show business. But guess what? We don't live in that world. It's a shame we don't, but we don't. All right. Let's see. Jason, what's up, buddy? Jason, you give me a pear. You know how much I love those freaking pears, and you gave me one. Thank you very much. And it says you are amazing. Thank you for that, Jason. You too are amazing. KRTD Media, what's up? You say, hey, Ron. I say, hey, back to you. Hey, KRTD Media. Good to hear from you. Jason, good to hear from you. Thank you for your super chat contributions. You keep this show on the air. And you know what I realized? I've never seen any of Ronald Reagan's acting work. You guys know that I'm bad with movies. That's something that's well documented about me. I've never seen any, like I just realized that right now. Like I've never seen, I know Reagan's an actor. It's something that you talk about. I've never seen any of his acting work. He was in Westerns, right? Pretty sure that was his deal. I've never seen any of his stuff. I'm probably never going to bother, to be honest with you. There's a lot of great movies I've not seen. I need to see a lot of them. His is just not going to be on my list anytime soon. And, but I've never seen it. I've never seen anything he's been in. Was it a lot of movies he was in? Now I'm curious. Let me just Google how many movies See if it just gives me a number. Was Ronald Reagan in? They're saying at least 15. They're saying at least 15. He was in some stuff. The library has his filmography. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He was in a lot of stuff. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. These are old movies too. All right. Well, Ronald Reagan's been in some movies, folks. I've never seen any of them, unless I've seen them and didn't even know. Maybe I've seen some, and it's like I didn't even know that was him. It's possible. No, I'm not recognizing any of these movies, to be honest with you. He was a narrator in some stuff, which knowing him as a president, well, barely knowing him as a president, but only knowing him as a president. Which, by the way, I wear this. I wear this. This is part of my evolution as a person. There was one point in time where Ronald Reagan was my favorite president. And if you've never heard me tell this story before, you might be thinking, Ron, what happened there? Well, here's what happened. I was 4 years old. I was 4 years old, and my name was Ron. And the president's name was also my name. So I thought that must make him cool. I thought, man, he has the same name as me. He must be a great guy. And I remember I asked my parents if Ronald Reagan was a good president. And I'll never forget, they wouldn't say yes. I'll never forget. And I don't blame them for the way they answered at all. In fact, I love the way they answered. I think it's hilarious because they didn't want to say no because, again, I was 4. And they probably thought, we're going to spare our 4-year-old, political assessments right now. He will have plenty of time to get into that as he gets older. And he doesn't need to get into any of this right now. He really doesn't. And I think that's fair. I mean, I'm all about educating your children. I'm all about introducing your children to ideas and challenging them intellectually. I really am all about that. I was about that when I was teaching college, but I think 4 years old. I think it's fair to say at 4 years old, you have to teach them about, show them how to read, show them the alphabet, teach them letters, numbers, stuff like that. Political, they have time for that. 4 years old, you don't need that for a 4-year-old, So they just said, I'm pretty sure. And again, this is a foggy memory. It's been a long time since I was 4 years old, but I'm pretty sure my parents said something along the lines of, well, just because someone has the same first name as you, that doesn't mean they're good at their job or anything like that. And being president is a very difficult job. And and they just left it there. I was like, well, is he a good president? And they were like, yeah. Let's watch Thundercats. Have you caught up on this? Do you guys remember Thundercats? I'm dating myself. Thundercats was pre-Ninja Turtles, all right? That's what that was. And And then as I grew up, I realized that Ronald Reagan, not a good president. And I also realized, you know what? Why I go by Ron, and I don't. If you're going to go by Ronald, that's your choice. But to me, that's a bit of an odd choice. Ronald Placa. I mean, my mom would call me Ronald when I was in trouble. Whenever my mom said Ronald, I knew that meant I was in trouble. That meant she was yelling at me. Nobody's ever called me Ronald unless it was, or if they were just being goofy. Like, Ronald. Sometimes my wife will just to mess with me, in a playful, fun way. If I'm rambling about something, which I might do, but if I'm just going off on a tangent about something, and usually these tangents are unsolicited, and she patiently listens, and when I'm done, she'll just say, "Okay, Ronald." And that's a fair response, quite frankly. That's a very fair response. One time I was telling her about this new joke that I had. I'm like, I have this new joke. I tried it on a Zoom show. I'm kind of excited about it. And she said, well, what's the joke? Tell it to me. And I said, hey, look, Hunter Thompson said this. You got to buy the ticket if you want to take the ride. In other words, if you want to hear the joke, tune into a Zoom show next time. And I don't even mean tune in like get a ticket or anything. Just be in the same room with me while I'm doing it. And she said, dude, I bought the ticket for life, motherfucker. And I told her the joke after that. Touche. I feel like she won that one. You know what I mean? I thought I was all clever, like, hey, Hunter Thompson said you got to buy the ticket, you want to take the ride. Ha ha ha. And she said, dude, I'm always on the ride whether I want to or not. I'm married to your ass. I hear the Get Your News On with Ron rants that aren't on the air. I hear the jokes while they're being made. I'm in the sausage factory, so to speak. That's what she said. And she won that one. I told her the joke after that. And from now on, whenever she asks, I just tell her. Whenever she's like, what's that? Well, you tell it to me. I'm like, okay. Although I do have a screenplay that I'm working on that I'm really excited about. You guys have you've heard me talk about that, and she has not read it. And the reason she hasn't read it is because I'm really hoping to make this thing. So I kind of want her to see it. I'm excited about this, and I want this movie to get made. Of course, I'll keep you guys posted on the progress of all of this. I really want to see this movie get made. And so I don't want her to read it. I don't want it to be spoiled in any way. I want her to see it for the first time. Yeah. Ron, you need a new Twitter account called Ron's Eyebrows. Says Jason. I know, right? I don't know if you could tell. I hope you can't. But yeah, my eyebrows are just nuts. My old hairstylist, Donna, she would say, Ron, do you want me to do something about your eyebrows? That was how she would put it too. And I would just say, yeah, please help. And she would try to do something about it. But yeah, my eyebrows, I get the points. The eyebrow points. They're not flattering at all. That's one of the reasons why I wear glasses. I mean, I wear glasses because I need them. I'd be bumping into this microphone without them, and I'd probably walk into a wall after this. But I wear glasses because I am very weird about eye stuff. I'm one of those people who freaks out at the eye doctor. And I also, so contacts, I'm kind of scared of them. And also because it's like, well, it helps. It takes away from the fact that my eyebrows are just psychopaths, just living on top of my eyes, waiting to strike at any moment. Some of you are saying you didn't notice. Well, now you're going to, man, I'm sorry. I'm getting in my own way, folks, where it's like, no one's going to notice your freak show eyebrows. But now that you said something, we realize that you could be Bert. Yeah, right on. Yeah, I gotta do something about them. Can you trim them? I do trim them. I'm just not great at it. Shave your eyebrows for justice, says Truth to Tweet. That'd be funny. Oh, by the way, there is a very, very brief bit of music news I want to share. First of all, folks, smash the like button. We are almost at 100 likes. Please help me get there, would you? But we're about to sign out here. The show's pretty much over, but we're almost at 100. Could you help me get there? Pretty, please. It'll mean so much to me. Smash that like button. Get us over to 100 likes, would you? And again, thank you to Jason. Thank you to KRTD Media and Jason again. But we got there, baby, we got there. But a little bit of music news. There's if you like the Smiths, which I like the Smiths, despite Morrissey has gone insane in recent year. Melissa says Ron has early onset old man eyebrow syndrome. Yeah, I know. I do. And now I'm trying to think if I've had it for a long time. And I want to say I've always... No, you know what? I actually... It has nothing to do with age for me, I don't think. Because I had it in high school. Like ever since high school, my eyebrows have just been out of control. My first, real girlfriend told me to do something about them. So Ron has early onset old man eyebrow syndrome. Unfortunately for me, it started young. Because yeah, my girlfriend at the time was like, dude, your eyebrows are a little, they're a lot. You can do something about it, And so I did. So I've been doing something about just the atrocity called eyebrows on my face since high school. Yeah. And anyway, the Morrissey news. The Simpsons did an episode about Morrissey and the Smiths, more so about Morrissey. And I've not seen it yet. I'm curious. I'm going to watch it. I'm excited for this. Basically, Lisa goes through, I guess, a Smiths phase. And of course, they're not called the Smiths. They're called the Snuffs, I think. And so she starts dating a Morrissey super fan. Or whoever they call Morrissey. Of course, it's, they use different names and stuff. But I'm intrigued to see this. And Morrissey, as of now, was offended by it. It does not paint Morrissey in a flattering light because it's based on recent times. And if any of you are fellow fans, you likely know that Morrissey has lost his mind as of recent. Morrissey's been, he's been quite something lately. And it just goes to show you, again, I don't have heroes. Morrissey's not a hero of mine, but you should never have heroes because a lot of times they will let you down. And I know a lot of people who were very big, diehard Morrissey fans that have been really let down in recent years. And, dude, my take is I still love the Smiths music. I'll always love the Smiths music. And, and I'm actually staring literally at a framed photo of the Salford Lads Club in Manchester, England right now. In my apartment, there is a framed photo of the Salford Lads Club. When my then fiance, now wife, and I went to Manchester, she was very, very patient and understanding and took a bunch of pictures of me at the Salford Lads Club, standing in front of it, pointing to it like, yeah, the Smiths did a thing here. Anyway, but Morrissey has lost his mind. Johnny Marr's still a great dude. Johnny Marr's a great guy. So, what are you going to do? I still like the Smiths music. And Johnny Marr, every bit as much the Smiths as Morrissey. So, balances out, right? Yeah, Morrissey went crazy. Johnny Marr, still a great dude. And guess what? Johnny Marr plays more Smiths songs live than Morrissey does anyway. So, there you go. But anyway, I want to check out this Simpsons episode. I'm looking forward to it. Are you still monetized on here? Yes, I am. As of right now, I am. I have no idea what the future holds, but yeah, I am still monetized on YouTube. Who knows what the future holds? And I appreciate your super chats and I appreciate your support over on the Rockfin and over on the YouTubes and over on the everything, because without that, I wouldn't be able to do this show. So thank you very much for that. And folks, I'll be back tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll be back with guests. It's been weird this week because of the internet thing. And I was trying to get someone involved with the strike on the show today. It didn't work out because I was mostly trying to find people over the weekend, which isn't a good time. But tomorrow on the show, Evan Greer joins the show, friend of the show, Evan Greer. She has a new album out now that I've not listened to yet. I'm going to listen to for tomorrow. And her album is doing very, very well. I saw on her Twitter that it actually hit the billboards. So she is a digital rights activist with Fight for the Future. They do amazing things over at Fight for the Future. Evan's been on the show before. Her and I broke down Section 230 together. I really loved that episode that we did. And she, just really, she just carries those issues so well. And, it's always great to talk to her. And so we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff going on in the digital rights space tomorrow. And we're also going to be talking about her album some. There's going to be some creativity talk too. And her new album is called Spotify is Surveillance. So she's probably not getting a lot of Spotify spins. But her album's doing well regardless. So that's cool. But she joins the show tomorrow. That happens at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. And in the meantime, you guys know the drill. Thank you so much. Let me do another quick thank you for the super chats. Thank you, Melissa. Love it. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, KRTD Media. Thank you, Jason, again. Thank you so much for that. This show could not exist without you. And thank you to everybody for tuning in today. It is good to be back. I've missed this. It is good to be back. We'll be back tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. And in the meantime, you know the drill. Lucy, she's asleep on the couch. But Lucy says meow. I say peace. Peace.